We have this function which says sketch this following function on a graph that's been provided below, and we're given a table here, so I've just manually drawn out the table and we'll go through it now. So what we've got are three columns or three rows here. So we can see that there's this first one in pink, this f of x, and we're given 2 points. So we're given 2 points here, right? And that is that when x is equal to -2, y, basically f, so f of -2, right, is equal to this -5 divided by 2, which is another way of saying -2.5. Okay, so we can kind of tick this bit off, right? We can tick this one off. We've done him. We've also got another one, right? Another point, and that is that at 0, we have -3. Okay, so that means we've got 2 points there, and we can tick them off. So -2 and 2.5, and then 0 and -3. So let's go put those 2 points on the graph here, and that'll make our lives a bit easier. So for the first one, we're -2 back, which is here, and then we're 2.5 up, which is kind of like up here, right? So a little bit difficult to see, I know, but there we are. And then the next one, right? The next one is going to be, oh, sorry, I've done it the wrong way. -2.5. This is 3. This is 2.5 here. Okay, the next one is 0 and -3. 3 is going to be here. So there we go. We've got our 2 points. And now we just need to figure out the rest of them. Okay, so this is where we're going to use our, I guess, gradient here. Okay, so we know that for, like, let's go to this one here, the f of x, right? So we'll go to this guy, and this tells us when the gradient is going to be 0. And when the gradient is equal to 0, because that's what f prime is, right? When the gradient is equal to 0, basically if we have some funky looking curve, right? These are the points that the gradient is 0. So if you were to put a ball on there, they don't roll anywhere. And so they just stay as is. So our graph can take these possible positions, 0, positive, and a negative. Okay, those are the gradients. So we know that from the first bit, right, that -3, we'll get to that in a bit, but at this -2 business here, we are at a 0 point, right? Which means we're kind of looking like this. Oh, let me change to that color. So we're looking like this. It has to be like that. If you move a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right, that's what it looks like. In fact, what we can say is that a little bit to the left, right, which is that this plus sign over here at -3, okay? So at -3, we know that we've got to have a positive gradient, which means we've got to be going up like this, okay? Okay, so we're gonna be going kind of up from that side there. All right. And then from the other side, we've got a negative gradient. So we're kind of going down like that, right? And then we get to this, so we're still going down, and then we get to 0, and we're back to being flat. But then we go to positive, okay? And I see that this graph is just a little bit off center, so I'm going to redraw another one just to make it a bit easier. So putting all that information in yet again, we've got the key points here: -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so we've got those points there, that -2 and 2.5 kind of down here, and that 0 and -3 down here. And then we know that we kind of do something like this. Okay, and so we then have plus and plus. So at some point we cross over between 1 and 2, right? Because our guy goes from negative to positive. So at some point between 1 and 2, we cross over and we look like this. So that is the final solution. Something that looks like this, right? But it's a bit difficult to tell. So those are the key points. So really the idea is that we're going to have our um, like the minimums and maximums that occur whenever our gradient function, that f of x, is going to be equal to 0. Okay, and we can have a look at the gradient kind of beforehand. So if you were to plot this again without really knowing what's going on, right, you'd say like -3 is over here, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And so because our graph here says that we've got a positive value, it means we're reaching up to the sky. We've then got a 0 value, we're doing something like this. We've got a minus value, we go back down like that, and then back to 0, and then it's positive and positive. Okay, so that just by looking at this function here, we can tell that from the graph because we're given it's a positive, it's 0, it's a minus, it's 0, it's a positive, and it's a positive. So that tells you what is going on there. All right, and then also this like it just naturally comes from it anyway. But at f dash dash, right, there's a point here that we say at -1 it's equal to 0, and that basically means it's an inflection, but a different type. So instead of doing something like, oh, sorry, something like this, or it's a horizontal inflection in a way, like or vertical inflection. It goes like this. So it just means that an inflection where it changes direction. So you don't really need it. The only things you really need are that gradient, which is this, and also the original function itself to put in a couple of points so you know whereabouts you're talking. So looking at this graph here, I'm going to sketch it once more in red. How do you get top marks? Well, what you're going to do is put in the key points in here and in here. And that -2 and 2.5. And that will give you the curve. So we've got heaps of exam questions like this on our website. And if you're stuck doing the same textbook questions and not finding that you're getting good marks, well then why don't you do your questions that are likely to appear in your exams? And you're going to find heaps of them on the website. That's in the description below. So they all have the original question, the solution, fully worked solution with hints, and also a corresponding video. But if you're still stuck, we offer tutoring online or in person and even group classes. So reach out if you need help and like this video if it's something that helped you and share it with some mates.